We have been deprived too long of a Star Wars RTS. It's almost been 20 years since Empire at War and forces of corruption. There was a rumor talked about in May of this year of an unannounced Star Wars RTS that is being made by a big-name developer. And that rumor solely came from a comment made by Andy Robinson, the owner and editor of VGC, aka Video Games Chronicle. And although that news gave hope to all those Empire at War and Galactic Battleground fans, it has to be taken with the smallest grain of salt. As we've seen with the Knights of the Old Republic remake, a Star Wars game can be cancelled and scraped at any moment. It honestly seems that people in corporate positions truly don't understand how to appeal to consumers. Since a Star Wars game of commanding armies and fleets of spaceships doing battle against one another seems like a logical choice to greenlight development for. In any case, let's take a moment to examine possible developers who could take the reins to develop such an ambitious game. Creative Assembly could be a great choice since their games have overall been a positive experience for the majority of players, despite the discrepancies concerning overpricing DLC. And they are no strangers to an RTS with a sci-fi setting, as with the case of Halo Wars 2. Additional points to make is the veterancy that units can gain in the Total War games. When a particular unit does well enough in battle, they gain chevrons that increase their stats, which would be an excellent feature to have in the next Star Wars strategy game. Their campaign maps are also beautiful with so much detail and a grand scale that could be comparable to the Star Wars galaxy. Lastly, their tech tree, albeit a bit linear, is a wonderfully done system that adds depth to campaign gameplay, which was lacking from Empire at War. After mentioning all of those features, I personally believe Creative Assembly would make an excellent choice for the next Star Wars strategy game. On to the second developers who could possibly make the next Star Wars. R.T.S. is Relic Entertainment and Blackbird Interactive. And although they are two separate studios, they could collaborate together to have Blackbird Interactive make the space battles and Relic Entertainment make the ground combat. I personally have not played their games, but seeing the footage, it does seem plausible for them to make a spiritual sequel to Empire at War. And lastly, there is Petroglyph. Even though they did create the beloved Empire at War, looking at their track record after that game doesn't look promising. I'm not going to criticize them enough to say that they should not be eligible to do a sequel, given that all they really need is a new game engine and the budget to make a AAA title. But I would hope they could expand and add upon the features that are clearly lacking in the base game. There could also be a new developer, such as That's No Moon Entertainment, who are incredibly suspicious with that name alone, but they are still in the midst of hiring people and seem to be missing plenty of staff to start production of a AAA title. In conclusion, there needs to be a new Star Wars RTS with up-to-date graphics, replayability, great modding tools, and plenty of features to keep the player base entertained for many years. Just imagine commanding a Venator or Imperial Star Destroyer in a space battle, or sending a legion of battle droids to conquer your enemies with the same level of visual fidelity as the recent Battlefront 2. We have been robbed for almost 2 decades, and it's time for us to get a brand new Star Wars real-time strategy game.